What is going on, my Masketeers? Welcome back. It has been a minute, I know. Life has been lifing, but we are back. And today we are going to be talking about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. This is the final installment in James Gunn's trilogy. Will the Guardians be back? Maybe. It will not be James Gunn's Guardians, I can tell you that much, because he is now taking over DC and he's trying to resurrect that pile of shit. Good luck to him. In saying that, really and truly, he can't do no worse. He cannot do no worse. And after watching Guardians, I have to say that I have a little bit of hope. But back to the movie. In the third movie, this kind of picks up after the Guardians Christmas special, which is on Disney Plus. If you haven't watched it, then you're not really missing much. This film is kind of like a continuation of that. The Guardians now own nowhere. Peter is now a drunk. Well, can't really blame the man. After losing Gamora, he's still going through that grieving process, even though there is a Gamora that's alive, but it's not his Gamora, it's from the other timeline / different dimension kind of thing. It's a little bit murky. Anyway, they're doing all of that. And then, out of nowhere, man like Adam Warlock turns up. And he is after the Guardians. Well, you think he's after the Guardians. He's actually after Rocket. And he definitely just fumbles that whole bag. Some things happen, and it's more of a fetch quest. They have to do a thing to then do a thing, and then that leads to something else. Because they have to save Rocket's life. And in doing so, we basically get the backstory to Rocket. And let me just say this. Rocket's backstory is dark. This film, in my opinion, is one of the darkest in the MCU, which is a good thing. We also get to find out the one that was responsible for creating Rocket was the High Evolutionary. In this film, I will say that for me, I actually liked his character because he's not quote unquote the punch him in the face villain. He's a scientist, one with a massive god complex, and it works well for him because his character is very erratic in the sense of he constantly keeps on believing he's the smartest in the room and he's unable to come to grips when he actually fails. He can come with the notion that it was a step in the right direction even if it was a failure, but when faced with the actual realization that he didn't succeed, he cannot comprehend that, and that's when he kind of spirals into his crazy eccentric shouting. And for me, I really liked that because again, it was a different kind of villain and something which worked in this case. This movie is Rocket. He is the star, even though, again, he's barely conscious for 90% of this movie. We see it through his flashbacks, and that's how the film is kind of based. You have what's happening here and now and them trying to save Rocket, and then it will shift to his backstory, and we get to learn more about how he was created, the facility, and his friends. Damn it, man. Them friends. R.I.P. to the realest in the game. Man like Flaw, freaky looking man, but with a good heart. Now, for me, I really enjoyed this film. I know that there's some people, for some reason, that didn't like it, and I feel the MCU is being punished for being so good that even when it does something that is quote-unquote good, if it's not to the standard of what people expect, then they kind of give it more criticism than it deserves. But the funny thing is, for this film, I don't even feel it deserves some of the bad criticism that it's getting, because this film to me is really good. This feels like a natural progression of the MCU which you started with, because the MCU technically is what, 15 years old? If you started the MCU and you were either in your late teens, early 20s, like most of us were, and now you're pushing 15 years later, you are full on adult. This film is for that audience, which I feel is a good choice, and I have to respect James Gunn for going there, because again, it has everything that is a standard MCU movie. It has the humor, in my opinion, the best humor. It wasn't too tacked on. Some parts were a little bit weird, but again, that just comes down to the fact of humor is subjective. Some jokes land, some jokes miss, but 90% of these jokes for me was hitting, and I feel every character had a really good arc. Everyone got enough screen time to where you understood where they were and how they feel. And one thing which I will say about this is it's a family. Guardians has always been about the family that you choose, not the family that you get. Every character is broken in some way, and the Guardians is the family that they formed through that trauma, and they heal from it. The one thing which I'll say, which I really liked, I liked this version of Gamora, because normally the standard formula would be, yes, she's a different Gamora, but she'll eventually become the Gamora that we know. Nope. This is a Gamora that didn't go through any of the things that the previous Gamora went through to make her the Gamora that we know. And I like the fact that we get to go on her journey, because she is literally the Gamora who was Thanos' daughter, granted, she's not full on dark. She doesn't really do negotiation. She's not the person to talk. She's out here just shooting first, ask questions later. And I like that. I also like her dynamic with Peter because, again, Peter is still trying to, quote unquote, make her the Gamora that he fell in love with and trying to remind her. She even telling him, like, bro, I'm not her. Whatever you're going through, go through it. But don't put that on me. And you see that relationship evolve through the movie. And again, it doesn't follow the standard formula of boy meets girl, boy gets girl. Boy met girl, got girl, girl died, new girl come, she don't want nothing to do with him. So I like that dynamic. I like everybody's dynamic. The one thing which I will say is, again, even though I'm not the biggest Adam Warlock fan, yo, if you like Adam Warlock, you might not really be too thrilled with what they did with him in this film. He's very different from the comic book. In honesty, I just feel like James Gunn had a story that he wanted to tell, and then the mouse came and said, don't forget to add Adam. And he's like, what? Remember you teased him in the previous movie? He has to be in this one. And James was like, okay, sure. So he had to find a way to integrate him into the film. And so I feel the character of Adam is wasted in that sense, but he's not a bad character. He has a couple of funny moments where I'm just like, you know what? That makes sense for his character, especially with the version that James created for the movie. I will say that the personal highlight again was Rocket. He was the heart of the film, and this is his story, and it was told really well. I think by the end of the film, everyone is in a good place, and it was a nice way to get one final ride with them. It is leaps and bounds beyond freaking Ant-Man and the Wasp, whatever the hell that trash was. And I have to say that for me, I'll probably say that out of all the movies that's come out in Phase 4 and Phase 5, well, Ant-Man being the first in Phase 5, Guardians, third good movie. And that is a very wild thing to say, especially when you think of how many movies and shows they've had. It's Spider-Man, No Way Home, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, and Guardians Volume 3. That's it. Like, that's honestly it. With the ending of this film, with the ending of the trilogy and the Guardians as they know it, I felt it was a good way for them to end. It was bittersweet. I felt, you know what? If this is it, I'm okay with it. But obviously, we already know that Disney ain't gonna let nothing die. And somehow, some way, these characters will come back, or the Guardians will come back. I don't know if all these actors are gonna come back. Dave has said that he's done, and so we'll see how that goes. All in all, I thought it was a really good film. Was it a perfect film? Nope, but it was leaps and bounds beyond what we've gotten, and just as a Guardians film alone, it was really good. For me, I would probably put Guardians 1 and Guardians Volume 3, they're neck and neck. I say that because they do different things. If Guardians 1 obviously gave you the ragtag group, Guardians 3 gives you a family, and James was able to balance the dynamic quite well. So because of that, it's a toss-up. Guardians 1, Guardians 3, neck and neck. Guardians 2, toss that piece of shit out. Nah. But yeah, so for the film, I'm gonna give it an 8 out of 10. I really enjoyed it. The people that's been hating on the film, I don't know what you guys are looking for. All in all, 8 out of 10 from my end. Guys, please let me know what you thought of the film. Like always, sound off in the comments. Please like this video. It helps the algorithm and it helps the channel grow. With that being said, like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you at the next masquerade. Peace.